Welcome back to our Maryville Forum Sports Podcast series, the State of the Program series. We were joined last week by women's basketball coach Austin Meyer, and this week we had the pleasure of being joined by volleyball coach Amy Woerth. How are you doing this morning,
I'm
Amy?
doing well. Thanks for having me.
And just going back to last season already with a 14-4 conference record, a really good season for the program. Just what do you take away from last season? What you guys were able to accomplish?
Um, we really focus on the process. We try to control our controllables. We've put together a process, Elaine and I, and we go through it. And I think in the bottom line of thinking of, the accolades and the things that we did last year, the takeaway for me is continue to trust in the process because that's what got us to where we are. Can you tweak things along the way that you're going to need to improve? Yes. But just continue to trust in the process. And I think that's been a really strong statement that keeps coming back to me over and over and over because we have trusted in the process and results come. And so we talk a lot about what drives us to this point, what drives winning, and our development of players and developing them and making them the best they can be, and the mentoring that we do. Clearly, with the season we had last year, I think it goes to show that those things work. So,
And people looking back at last year, first thing you notice is that decorated group of seniors, Maddie, Olivia, Sophia, they've all been in the program 4 years. But I really thought last year maybe the biggest key was some of those contributions you got from the younger players. Just what have you seen from them in their continued growth this off season? Now we're just a few weeks really
right.
away from fall camp.
I think your hope, that you're showing your players is that you're passing something on to them, and you want them to turn around and pass it on to the other players, the underclassmen. And I think organically, the beauty of all of this is as we continue to see our senior class do that, I think only great things are going to happen. And so, Jackie and Miranda, two previous seniors 2 years ago, had passed that on to this class. And I think every year seniors do it. But what sticks in my brain are those two and the leaders that we had in that class. And you can see the fruition, like how it helped the 2 years later. And I think from the standpoint of what Maddie, Olivia, Megan being here for 5 years, and
Yeah.
Sophia have learned how can we treat people the way that we were treated. And I think that's a strong statement. And, for them to have and come up on their own, and this isn't anything that I force down their throat. Like I said, it's something that organically happened. So for them to turn around and pass it on to our underclassmen, it doesn't surprise me that you see those underclassmen step up and be lifted up by the seniors because they know that they need them. And it's not a pressure thing. It's not a hatred thing. It's not, hey, I'm a senior, you got to do for this for us. It has never been about that. It's been more about, hey, come with us. And I think that was the really neat thing. And when you're treated that way, you want to turn around and do the same thing. So again, I think it's a big, fun, awesome circle to see. It doesn't surprise me that the younger classmen are doing that. It's something that we want to see.
The program's been a little spoiled the last few years, maybe, with obviously you and Elena have been together here coaching for a while, and not a whole ton of turnover. The one spot is grad assistant, which you kind of expect turnover in that,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, but with Miranda last year, the rarity in that is she's just going down the road a little bit
Sure.
to coach with the Spoof Hounds. So what can Spoof Hound fans kind of expect from Miranda and what she brings to the table as a coach?
Miranda will want to connect with her players and unite them. When she was a player, she was a glue that really, pulled people together when she was a captain. And She holds her expectations high when she was, a player. And so, I'm sure she's going to want to do that with the players that she's coaching here. And basically, in my opinion, she's just really going to pull and connect that program together, which will be fun to see.
Getting into the recruiting part of it now, having that success you guys have had the last few years, and kind of it seems like building every year, like you said earlier. How much have you seen that kind of help on the recruiting trail, and what's been the biggest keys to bringing in some talented girls?
Clearly, when you have success, people are going to pay attention to that. And, at the beginning of our culture change, you're really selling it without having the record to stand on. And so now, because we've been here long enough, like we can show them that, what we're doing has some validity in it. And really, honestly, you try to find people who buy into your story that you're selling when it comes to the recruiting side, and people who fit your culture, number one, and also are very talented players. And so we always approach the recruiting with the culture. What type of people are they when it comes to their character? It's easy to see who is talented athletically, but we have to have both of those things exist. And so I think from the standpoint of it is continuing to do what we did in the earlier days, but just have a little bit more success on, the result side, that you can sell it maybe a little bit easier, but it's still the same message.
And we'll just kind of go through the list a little bit here. First up, Jaden Ferguson. She's a 6 foot tall outside hitter from Lincoln, Nebraska, Lincoln Southeast over there. Just what kind of attracted you to Jaden? What she bring to the table?
I think the collective theme in all of our players, and then I'll get into Jaden a little bit, is the fact that um, they have some accolades underneath them when it comes to all state, all conference. And so I think that's a positive, but also almost all of them have some experience playing at a high level when it comes to either high school or going to state with their team. Because we have to remind ourselves it's great to have the accolades individually, but we belong to a team. And so getting them to play as a team and to gel as a team, if they've already done that in their career and they understand that, you already have that leg up when it comes to teaching them that lesson. And yes, you can teach them more lessons, but it's the fact that they've already gelled and understand how teams work or have a little bit of an advantage in that area. So I think through and through, if you look at this class, they all have a very similar theme that they've played at a high level when it comes to high school and or club. And I think that's the fun part about all of these players. Jaden has such a drive to be the best that she can be individually, and you can see that. And it's not just on the court, you can see it academically, and I think that fits us as well. We are a very high academic team. We were number one, in the spring for the GPA amongst the sports and the women's side especially. So she fits that mold. And so it's going to be something that she can identify with and be comfortable with jumping in. And yes, it's a new challenge and it's a higher challenge, but I think from the standpoint of who she is and her character and stepping in, I think all those things she identifies with already.
Gotcha. And next on the list is London Gardner, or hopefully I got that right.
Partner, yep.
A 5'11" middle from Leeward, Kansas, and Blue Valley North. So the same question: what's she going to provide you guys, and what do you like about her game?
She has already played at a high level. I mean, her club has done very well throughout her club career, and then state-wise, they of course have placed, high as well. So she's understanding that championship mentality piece of what it feels like to be in that atmosphere already. Her as a player, and then even as a person, she's a competitor. She hates to lose. You can see it within her. 5'11" isn't a very big middle. And so what she's had to learn along the way is like she knows herself pretty well. She's pretty comfortable in her skin when it comes to what she needs, and she has to find ways to score. And so she's been taught that as a at a young age, and I liked when we watched her play. You can see that she's a fast, quick player that comes off one foot really well behind. And so some of those things just bring a different look. If you have everyone be the same, and I'm not someone who necessarily recruits to a system. I'm going to go find the best players that fit us. And I think she brings in a little bit of a difference in a good way.
And then a little bit more size to that middle position with our next recruit here, Amy Grant, a middle from a very good program in Millard North that also in Omaha, Nebraska. What do you like about Emmy and what she brings?
Her favorite thing clearly is the block. So I think that's fun, bringing someone in who has that thought process, with the career that she's had with, owning records and stuff when it comes to blocking. And so she takes a lot of pride in that, which is fun to see. And clearly her other sides of her game are very strong. But you can tell she really likes that side of it defensively, which is fun. Coming from the program she's came from, like she doesn't know any different. Like she's going to want to come in here and be the best she can be. And so, again, playing for one of the top clubs in Nebraska, from the Omaha area, and then being at Millard North. I mean, those are two great areas, that you can pull players from. And I'm excited to see what she can do with her size and her blocking ability already as a freshman.
And then our next one is a 6 foot tall player from Blue Springs South, Hannah Lepore, and she seems like just by reading what we have here, a more versatile player and can do some different things for you. So what's nice about her game?
Hannah's athleticism is high. From the standpoint of being a middle or being a right, like you said, she's versatile. She can be moved around, and she has an extremely fast, heavy arm, and we just want her to go be athletic, go do your thing. Again, playing at a high level. She's on the same club team that London is on, so they've both played together at a high level within Kansas City area. And so we're just excited to see her transition to the next level.
And then a familiar name for sports fans. Sydney probably doesn't appreciate always being the daughter and the brother of some pretty famous coaches and players, but Greg McDermott, the head coach at Creighton, and Doug McDermott's her brother in the NBA currently. But getting past that, what does Sydney McDermott, a 6'1" player from Omaha, what does she bring to the table for you guys?
And like I said earlier, it's kind of a theme, but it becomes a theme because every single one of these players has it. Scott Catholic has really turned on, as you can see. They've won 3 state championships, and she's been a part of them. And to be able to have that underneath her belt, the expectation is there. She wants to step in here and go win a championship. It's just what she does. And so I love that mentality that we get from Sydney. And, being coached by a great high school coach that's had a great college career is also fun. And Sydney brings size. She is versatile again. She can be a middle. She can be a right. Mentally, it's been the fun thing to watch her as she has grown here. She didn't know she wanted to do basketball or volleyball. And clearly she had a pull on the basketball side from mom or from dad and brother potentially, but ultimately, she loves volleyball and, loves Northwest. And so you put those together along with her mentality and just where she's played and her size, when I watch her play, she's so determined and intense, and she's going to get the job done. And I think our players are going to, as she gets comfortable, they're going to feel that from her. And so I'm excited to see especially with her size. Again, what she can do for us.
And she's going to be the most famous example of this. But how important is the is that family background, and when you go after a recruit, knowing that they have maybe that support system or just that drive from family and
Right.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the conversation that's surrounded her whole life.
Yeah.
I've never been in that situation. And so for her, I think it's probably going to help her just to know that she's had a lot of high level conversations. Clearly her dad is a head coach at a very, at a high level. And so for her, she doesn't know any different. I think it's fun for her to make her own path. And I'm excited to help her with that, because she's going to take all the tools that have already been given to her and really start doing it in Sydney's way, which is kind of fun to see.
And then our last but not least recruit here is Alyssa
Razak.
Resnack. Oh,
Razak.
okay, Resnack. And she's a 5'7" setter from Wahoo, Nebraska. Another Nebraska kid. What? Just talk a little bit about Alyssa.
Alyssa also plays on a high level club team and also a high level high school team. Um, we had a chance to go to state this year, which doesn't happen often. But the way that our schedule was set up this year, we started a week early because of the fall festival. It happens every 4 years for the fall sports.
Mm.
So we actually got to go up to Nebraska and watch Emmy, and we watched Sydney, and we watched Alyssa play all in one day. And it was just really fun to see that level of play from all of them. It gets your juices going for the next year when you just finished your season. But with Alyssa, they were playing in the state championship, and I happened to win a state championship my sophomore year and have a lot of positive feelings about it. So I get myself in their situation, and I was a setter. And so what I see out of her is just leadership. She's been around our program, and she committed fairly early in her career to us, and just consistency, character player who gives everything, every single point. She's your blue collar kid. And that's what you want to see out of your quarterback, out of out of your setter. And so it's really fun to see her step into this at the next level. And she's a hard-nosed kid. She's been raised in a family, you just do it, and she doesn't know any different. And so it's really fun to see her play, because I get to work with the setters the most, because I run the offense and help with that the most. And I'm excited about our relationship, and, just because of the things that she brings in and the person that she is. But she's tough as nails, this kid, and character kid, and great academics. And like I said, fits us really well. So I'm just really excited to see this transition for her and her next step.
And now, before we get all these new kids on campus, just what's the schedule like for the program over the summer? Are you guys allowed to get in the gym at all? I'm sure the players are, but when does fall camp start, and just take us through your schedule a little bit coming up?
Yeah, we have hands off for sure. Based on the NCAA rules, we can't have any practices, can't have any countable athletic related hours with them. So really, it's all on them, and we give them all of the stuff that they need to be doing. But it's really, when your champions are created, when no one's watching. And so that's the theme that we like to give them as they walk away from the spring. But for us, it's really getting our processes down of what we're going to put in front of them as the fall comes, pretty quickly. And then, so a lot of it is learning from coaches, looking back at our process, thinking about what we want to do moving forward. That might be a different wrinkle, all the things that go with it, with those decisions, and getting all those processes, to solidify and get them ready for the fall. Our freshmen and the rest of our team come back on their own in July. We run some camps, but one of the things that I really preached coming in was the greatest gains that I made as a player was in the summer when no one was watching. And so I really, really pushed hard to get all of our players to want to come back on their own, which again, I can't require it. So it's just them doing it, and it's happened. Most of all of our players are here, and they're here, for good once July comes. And I think that as we continue to consistently do this, it will set us apart as a program from a commitment level. And so they'll all be back here in July, including the freshmen. They'll be taking a class, so they'll get a class underneath them before the fall even starts, which I think also gives them a leg up when it comes to the transitions that happen as a freshman. There's so many transitions. And if we can help those transitions move forward a little bit by a month, then our team chemistry is at a different level. So that's really my philosophy on getting people back here. So they'll all be back in July, and then we start in August, about the middle of August, and get after it. So.
And we talked earlier a little bit about how previous success kind of drives recruiting and everything. Have you also seen that kind of drive the returning players and
Yep.
and how just talk about how last year taking it to the last week there in the conference race and everything, how you've seen them kind of respond to that?
I think a really neat moment I had for me personally was when we got into the gym the first time in the spring. It was still in the winter, but for our spring season, and we didn't have our 4 seniors. And you wonder as a coach how that's going to play out. You wonder, because every year's a new year, and every year has a different team, and every year has different dynamics. And so it's just the beginning, very first practice of that journey. And what I found, and it all has to go with what the seniors pass on and what leadership does to your program, and how we talked about this organically happening at the beginning. What I found is we left off right where we were when it came to the mentality that our players had, even though the people who were driving it were not there, and we were still trying to figure out who our leaders were going to be and the new team chemistry. But it was still happening at an individual level. And I think that was a really, really lasting feel on, like an impression on me, was that our players are buying into this at an individual level. They're not being forced to do this. They want to do it. And because of that, it doesn't matter who's on the team. It doesn't matter who's left. It's going to continue to carry forward because individually they want it. And so I think that was really neat to see for them. And so I think as we go through this, you're going to see all this organically happen again with this new freshman class. And it's just a fun process to see. And it's what makes my job, I guess, what I'm the most proud about in all of it is how they're leaving our program, and how how we are touching them as a coaching staff, so that when they go out to be professional in something probably other than volleyball, they can take some of the lessons. At least I hope that they take some of the lessons and apply them, and they're better off than the other people that are not having those experiences.
We look forward to seeing that process play out on the court this fall, and thanks for joining us today, Amy.
Thanks for having me.